Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday. Two quick things. First thing, Extra Life is in a week. The test stream is in a week. The day after, October 23rd, is Extra Life. Please, if you somehow have not already told your smartphone, do so. We want to see you there. It's our annual Children's Hospital charity event, raising money for our local children's hospital. This is the 10th year that we've done it. We hope to make it the biggest one yet. Second thing, we played Clubhouse Games tonight. This is a game that I played a little bit earlier this year with Dan on his copy, but we picked up a copy of our own and did a very casual stream tonight with it, and it was a lot of fun. Should have that out on Stephen Plays in the near future. Probably a game that we'll come back to at some point if we need another casual Friday night stream. So today was the Animal Crossing Direct, and I gotta tell you, I was impressed. Folks asked if we were gonna do a reaction video. We didn't, but we did watch it, so I'll give you my thoughts. It was good. It hurt a little bit because there's so much stuff that feels like it was probably planned for launch. Almost certainly some of that stuff was planned for launch, and it was never ready in time. There were so many updates that were delayed, and I know that they were delayed because of the pandemic, and there's not really anything you can do other than say, man, that sucks. But better late than never, and now most of the stuff that people wanted is in the game. There's a lot of new stuff, a lot of new features, a lot of quality of life improvements, and also the inclusion of paid DLC. There's a paid DLC at $24.99, and it adds, honestly, a lot. And based on what I saw, I think it's worth it. I really do. I mean, if you label yourself as an Animal Crossing fanatic and you've already got hundreds of hours in New Horizons, or if you're someone that is just getting into the game and you're like, oh, this seems really cool, I think it's worth it. I think $25 is a pretty fair asking price. Although, you may not have to pay that $25 because we also got the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass pricing today, which is arguably something that I was more interested in knowing. On the last Nintendo Direct, we learned about the expansion pass. We learned that we were getting N64 and Genesis games added to Nintendo Switch Online, but only if you purchased this expansion pass, but we didn't know how much it costs. Today that changed. So I'm gonna be discussing a little bit about what you get, what the cost difference is, and what I think you should do. So first things first, normal Nintendo Switch Online is $20 a year. That's for one person. That covers the ability to play online. Not all games need that, actually. Pokemon Unite doesn't need an online pass. I don't think Fortnite does either. But for a lot of like the first party and even third party games, then you do need Nintendo Switch Online in order to play online. Cloud saves. Also NES and Super NES games. Very specifically, 88 NES games and 56 Super Nintendo games, with more coming, maybe at some point. Asterisk. The expansion pass gives you access to, when it launches in a week or two, 9 N64 games, with the promise of at least 7 more. We don't know when we're getting those, but at least 7 more. And 14 Genesis games, with no promise of others, but it's assumed, probably, that there will be more of those. However, we learned that you will also get, with the expansion pass, the Animal Crossing paid DLC. So if you're an Animal Crossing person, not a bad deal. The expansion pass, however, changes your price from $20 a year to $50 a year. So then you have to start weighing things a little bit. $30 additional a year is a lot. I mean, that's a pretty big price jump. It's a huge price jump if you don't play Animal Crossing. If you were going to get the DLC, it's a great deal because for only $5 more, you get access to N64 and Genesis games for an entire year. I think that's worth it. If you don't play Animal Crossing, then it's $30 more, and it's only however many games that is, 9 and 14, 23 games. And you really have to weigh whether that's worth it. It's going to depend heavily on the individual. If you're someone who's like, I'm gonna play all these games, I'm gonna get my money's worth, then yeah, it could be. But if you're like most people, I think you're probably going to just dabble. There will be games that you turn on and you try out, maybe they don't really stick with you, so you move on to another thing, and just from time to time you come back, maybe you'll play through a whole game or two, but that'll probably be it. For those people, I'm not so sure that the $30 jump is worth it. It could be, but I kind of doubt it. Here's the thing. On paper, I don't have a problem paying $50 a year for Nintendo Switch Online. I really don't. I actually think that, again, on paper, Nintendo being the Netflix of games makes a lot of sense. Of all of the video game companies, they have the back catalog to do it, and to do it very successfully. My issue is that up to this point, I feel like they haven't. Because when it first launched, we were getting updates every month, but then it dwindled. And we would go every other month, sometimes 3 months, sometimes longer between updates for these systems. And instead of getting games that we know and love, there was a lot of games where we're like, what is this? I've never heard of this. And that's what worries me, is that right now, Nintendo is promising 9 N64 games, 7 on the way, and no timeline for those. It's completely reasonable that those 7 could be over the course of the next year. It's not like, oh, we're going to be getting those really, really soon. Those might be getting stretched out a lot. And that's something you have to consider. Like, I feel that $50 a year would be worth it if Nintendo was very, very regularly like, now you get this, now you get this, now you get this. But the fact that they've went so long without, sometimes without games at all, and when they give games, sometimes they're not the greatest games, it worries me a little bit. I don't have any problems with including a game no one's heard of or a game that's not super great or super popular, thrown in with some other good games, but it does become a little concerning when that's become, to some extent, the norm. So you have to consider that. You have to consider that. And, if you're someone who dabbles in games, I don't know that it's going to be worth it. Maybe you do. And if so, this whole thing is subjective, so you do you, go for it. However, just as I promised at the beginning, here's what I think you should do. The family plan was $35 a year. It recently changed with the expansion pass to $80 a year. And while that sounds like a lot, it's for 8 different people. So split 8 ways, it comes out to $10 a year. And $10 a year is an absolute steal. If you're planning on playing the Animal Crossing DLC, it's a super steal. But even if you're not, you're getting access to playing online, cloud saves, NES, Super NES, N64, and Genesis. And for $10 a year, I think it is absolutely worth it. So my suggestion to literally everybody is to use the Nintendo Switch Online family plan. You should really do the family plan. I guarantee you that you can find other people who would be willing to go in with you on a family plan. Seriously, I know some people are like, I can only get this person or this person. I'm telling you, there are people out there that would love to be a part of your family group. And that's my recommendation. That's flat out my recommendation. Whether or not $50 a year is worth it to someone as an individual is up to them. But I think for everyone, for what Nintendo currently has on offer, let alone what they're going to release, I think $10 a year is a steal. And I would highly urge people to talk to their family members about doing the family plan. Yeah. And you might be asking questions like, what if we're in a different country? Doesn't matter. As a part of the Nintendo Switch Online family membership support article, you can be in other countries. Like as long as you have a Nintendo ID, you're good. It doesn't matter where you're located. So, yeah, that's my takeaway here. And I've seen a lot of people arguing online today based on the cost coming out, whether it's worth it, whether it's not worth it. And I think the bigger picture that everyone's missing is there is a family plan, and I would highly recommend looking into the family plan. I hope that helps somebody. Thank you so much for watching. Let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?